ultimately it is going to happen at this stage. The chances it won't happen is reducing every day, but whether it will happen in 60 days' time is another question. Obviously, we've got hopefully the Cooper Amendment being voted on tonight, so we'll see what happens with that. I mean, it might be 60 days, it might be later on this year, but it's definitely going to happen, I think. I think there'll be lots of people who point the finger at Parliament and say they're ruining Brexit, so to speak, but I think it's important that Parliament have a say in this. It can't just be the government. I think for the past 2 years they've been ignoring Parliament and kind of failing to have a kind of unilateral agreement on how to proceed with Brexit. I think it's come too little too late. So.
Bit of a mixed opinion. It could be good, it could be bad. We don't fully know. At this point, I think it's better for our economy, but worse for people like my age who could be very badly affected by it. I think at this point we probably have gone beyond getting a deal. I think Theresa May's deal has fallen through and we're probably going to crash out and we'll have to deal with that.
I think I'd question that a little bit. I think certainly the older generation voted in much larger numbers for Brexit, but I think equally they've had much more experience with life before the EU. And I don't think it'll be a tremendously bad thing for this generation. I think we'll still have a lot of benefits of world trade rather than just EU trade. So I think it's actually much more of a positive thing for this generation to be. I think obviously if I had been 18 at the time, I would certainly have voted. I certainly would like to have voted, and I would have voted leave. But I think the voting limit should still be at 18. I don't think it should be any lower. I would challenge that. I think there's a large proportion of people, we see it on television all the time, actually in audiences. There's often quite a large number of young people who are in favour of leaving. And I think it's often slightly misportrayed that all young people are in favour of remaining. It's certainly not the case for everyone. Well, I think it's a good thing to be able to have control over our own nation, to be able to regulate our own trade with not only the EU, but also the rest of the world. And I think it will make prices lower for everyone. It will increase our status on the world stage as well, and we can truly become a global nation again, rather than just being an EU-centric nation.
Brilliant, thank you.
I think it'd be quite important. I mean, the EU is one of our biggest trade partners and they help supply us with a lot of things. But a no-deal Brexit at this point seems like it's going to be almost inevitable anyway, so even if they do try getting a deal, it might not be worth it at this point. I think it would cause a pretty bad economic effect maybe at first, in the UK anyway, and we'd have to trade quite a lot more with other countries like the US and China. But that would mean trying to create more trade deals with them, and the way it's gone with the EU, I'm not sure that would work out so well. Yeah, I mean, the UK has always been a part of Europe, and it's literally even geographically part of it. I mean, even if we separate from the EU, we're still going to be part of Europe, so...
I would have personally voted to remain. I think that there's quite a lot of uncertainty with Brexit that the economy might not be able to handle at the moment, especially with austerity only just ending. I wouldn't want the country to go back into any kind of economic issues. Obviously, in terms of trade and things like that, trade would be a lot more challenging because there's talk of leaving the customs union and things like that, and the common market. I think where we are now, I do believe that we will. I don't think that the MPs would ever vote to revoke something that the people had said that they wanted to do. even if it was a small majority that eventually pushed over.
I think the fundamental problem we had with the initial referendum we had in 2016 is that when people were voting, they were voting on, you know, they weren't voting on any particular scenario, only a means by which to reach one. And the problem with that is we've had this huge amount of political infighting within the Tory party, within the Labour Party over the past couple of years. And there hasn't really been any kind of consensus over what the scenario there should be, which might say the most logical point of view for me is, you know, you really should be able to have the ability to have actual, actual vote on a particular scenario, such as, you know, at this point it would be May's deal, or to perhaps to remain in the European Union if people felt that actually, because he had so many promises from the various sides of, you know, that consisted of different potential scenarios, that maybe actually remaining would be the best option after all. I think we should have second referendum. I think I would have voted Remain in the first referendum, but I think it also goes across the spectrum of people who voted Leave, people who voted Remain. Over, you know, it just gives a general consensus. It's not going to fix any of the divisions that have been out there, but it is going. But neither will Leaving, I don't think. I think it will just give. It will help, help breed a sort of consensus over what action should actually be taken, rather than the deadlock we currently have in Westminster.
I think personally that, yeah, there probably would be quite a drastic difference, because I think a lot of people weren't really in the know of exactly what was going to happen. And I think as a result, a lot of people just thought, oh, well, I'll vote Leave, just see what happens. And I think there were a lot of false promises. Obviously, you had the bus and everything like that kind of was capturing people's minds and then forcing them to kind of vote Leave, rather than looking at the bigger picture, looking at their children's futures, that sort of thing, and fully ascertaining that Remain would probably be a better option. Well, I do think, obviously, being a democracy, everyone should have a kind of say, but equally it's representative, and we elect MPs to make those decisions for us. Obviously, it's quite a big decision, and it's very individual. People have different circumstances with family members in the EU, that sort of thing, or money invested in the EU. But, well, I don't know. I think, yeah, basically.
I believe that they're trying to sort of possibly force a second referendum, but I'm not too confident it will happen, seeing as both causes of issues regarding like genuine democracy. I personally would have voted to Remain, and I would have felt that my future is in my hands, and therefore I should take that opportunity to vote and make that decision. I think it depends on Theresa May's deal and whether it's supported or not, personally.
I think essentially it's probably just the amendments of today.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they're quite important to getting Theresa May's deal through Parliament. And I feel like it's essential that she does sort of listen at this point, otherwise we are going to crash out with no deal. I think it's more Theresa May that maybe needs to change her behaviour. She's been quite stubborn over the last couple of months, years. She did take on an impossible job. But she has worked with it quite well to sort of sort things out, but she hasn't listened enough to her colleagues and Parliament to ensure that she does get something through. With like quite a big defeat in her past deal, this is the point where she does need to listen and to sort these sort of things out. It will be able to sort of get that balance between the division in the voters across the UK, because of the fact that we've had this big division has caused for may to have voters that are on the far side going, yeah, let's leave, we need to crash out the EU. And then you've got severe Remainers, and they're like, no, we can't do this, let's have a second referendum. But it's essential that she does get that equilibrium. I feel like it's a long time coming yet. We're talking of a leave in the next sort of month or so, well, 2 months. And I do feel like it's going to be a good 5 to 10 years until it sort of all starts to calm down.
One final question. In terms of your education, you know, obviously you went to study politics. What year was that when you chose that as a subject?
Just this year.
Just this year. So you knew that this was going to be. Have you had any surprises learning about Brexit?
I think it comes as a surprise every day. No one knows what's really going to come of it. So, yeah, I feel like it's probably the biggest surprise of it all. Really, you just find out what's going to happen next.